Yo, what is up guys, Dubois here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button, hit the like, all of that good stuff. So it's been announced that Daniel Dubois and Joyce will have interim bouts before their fight in October. Both of these guys will have their interim bouts over the summer. Joyce will fight on July 25th. He is fighting German Mikhail Wallis, and Daniel Dubois, he is fighting on the 29th of August, and he will be fighting a guy by the name of Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer is also a German heavyweight, so both guys are fighting Germans. Now me personally, I don't really have a problem with these interim bouts. The official fight between Daniel Dubois and Joyce is scheduled for October. Providing that doesn't change, they are still set to fight. So me personally, I don't really have a problem with these guys shaking off some ring rust before their big showdown. At the end of the day, neither guy has fought in 2020, so it may be a good idea to get some ring time before their massive fight in October, because let's be honest, that fight will be the most important fight in their respective careers. Now, in regards to the levels of opponents, listen, these essentially are tune-up fights, so we don't expect any upsets. We will start with Joyce's opponent, Mikhail Wallis. Mikhail Wallis has a record of 20 wins, 3 defeats. Looks pretty good on paper until you analyse it. He's only stepped up 3 times and he's been knocked out on each occasion. He's fought Tony Yoka, Efe Ajagba and Christian Hammer, and he handily got beaten in all of those fights. Mikhail Wallis is a straight up and down heavyweight. He's pretty upright, he's pretty stiff, and basically he's cannon fodder for any decent heavyweight. That's the truth. He's a knockout for hire, essentially. Now, Daniel Dubois' opponent is a little more interesting, Pfeiffer. First and foremost, Pfeiffer is actually a prospect, and he's unbeaten. He's got a record of 7-0 with 5 knockouts. Pfeiffer is a little more interesting because the guy actually had a pretty good amateur career. He never really did well in the major tournaments, but he did qualify for the Olympics a couple of times, and he fought some real high-level guys in the amateurs. Pfeiffer also interestingly fought in the World Series of Boxing, and he actually holds 2 wins over Tony Yoka in the World Series of Boxing. He also beat Mikhail in the World Series of Boxing as well. So they're pretty impressive wins in that particular format, but as a pro, from what I've seen of Pfeiffer, he's really not been that impressive. For someone who beat the likes of Mikhail and Tony Yoka in the World Series of Boxing, you would think they'd turn over and have a relatively successful pro career, but Pfeiffer's really not looked impressive at all. He's been dropped a couple of times. I've only seen one of his pro fights in full, and that was his last fight against Adnan Redzovic. And in that fight, he actually got dropped, and he got hurt quite badly. And that opponent, Redzovic, really isn't anything to write home about. He did get up though, and he won that fight by stoppage. So he showed some good heart, but as a pro, to me, Pfeiffer really looks vulnerable. He's not particularly impressive in any aspect. He's like the stereotypical German fighter, I guess. Kind of straight up and down, likes to hold his hands high, keep a tight guard and throw straight punches, does the basics quite well, but he's really not dynamic. I'm not convinced of his punching power. He's not all that quick, and I'm not convinced on his chin either, based on what I've seen so far in his pro career. So while Pfeiffer is more than likely a better opponent than Mikhail Wallis, who Joyce is fighting, I still fully expect Daniel Dubois to deal with Pfeiffer. But, on paper, he does have a decent record. He's unbeaten. He's got that amateur pedigree, the World Series of Boxing experience. So at least he actually has some sort of pedigree. But like I said, I don't really expect that to translate in the pro game. And certainly not against Daniel Dubois. I expect both guys to come through these fights with flying colours, with early knockouts. And I expect both guys to look dominant. Like I said, I don't really have a problem with these interim fights. The only issue is, and the only downside is, in the event of somebody getting an injury. That's the only risk when you do this, But hopefully both guys come out unscathed, and in October, providing, the coronavirus pandemic doesn't push this fight back any further, hopefully these two step in the ring, because Daniel Dubois versus Joyce is a great fight. If these tune-up fights result in both fighters being better on their big night, then I don't really have a problem with this, in all honesty. Anyway, share your thoughts below. What do you think about this news? Peace.